Hello, thank you for watching Truth and Justice with Vivian King. I'm excited in the night tonight because I have my standby co-host Danny Sneed. As usual, he's always there. And then I'm excited to have Rochelle Santee to tell her story. And then her husband, former Houston Astros pitcher, Robert Santee. He's told his story before. You can see it on YouTube. Go to Truth and Justice with Vivian King on YouTube and just look up Robert Santee, or just look up his name, Robert Santee, on YouTube, and you'll see his story. He told his story in April of 2015 and in May of in 2015. He lived such a long life, he had two parts to tell. So he had 2 hours to tell. So we're excited to have him here in the studio tonight. They're going to talk about their new foundation. But first of all, as we always do, we'll talk about from prison to redemption and to salvation. So thank you, Rochelle, for being courageous enough to tell your story and encourage people that there's a great life out there after you get in trouble when you're a young woman. And so a young woman, a young mother.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, so thank you. So you have a lot to tell. So I don't know if we can start from the beginning. You said you started off with a great mom that you still have today. And,
I do, Doris Martin.
Say it again.
Doris Martin. My mother's name is Doris Martin.
Okay, you got Doris Martin, and then you had a great stepfather.
Pierre Martin.
So tell me how at a young age you got caught up. Apparently you were a young mother.
I finished school when I was 16 years old. I got skipped 2 grades.
Oh, you're a smart lady, huh?
I went from the 6th to the 8th grade in 1 year.
Wow.
I finished school when I was 16. First time I had sex, I got pregnant.
Oh, okay.
So I was in college. I had just started college, and I found out I was pregnant. I was then 17. And at this present time, I have a 47-year-old daughter.
Oh, wow. Amen.
I have a 42-year-old, no, I have a 40-year-old, a 44-year-old, and my baby just made 48, as a matter of fact, in July. So I have a 40-year-old, a 44-year-old, and a 48-year-old.
Okay, so the 48-year-old is the one you had young. Okay. And having that baby young, what trials and tribulations did you go to, and how did you get caught up in the criminal justice system?
Well, I went on to college, and I first married. I went on to college, and I first married my next to oldest is my 40. I was not married to my 48-year-old's father, but I married my daughter's father, and he was a womanizer. So that lasted a hot second because I can take a lot, but that's beyond it. It was my second marriage, where I went into abuse. Mm-hmm. And I mean,
Were you still young then?
Oh, yes, ma'am. 25, 26, something like that. I was in my 3rd year of college, and my son's father was very abusive. And I mean, literally, he was very abusive. My son's father did things to me that I'd take to my grave.
That you can't even talk about?
I desire not to do so.
Oh, my God.
The hardest thing that his father did for me was, I was 9 months pregnant with my son, and he said, let's go for a ride. And I wobbled on, got in the car. We were on 610, and it was about, God, it's been forever. I don't want to lie, maybe 9 or 10 o'clock at night.
It was dark?
Yes, ma'am, very dark. And he put out a gun, and he put it to my head. And he said, you can do one or two things. He said, you can take a bullet or you can jump. And I jumped in oncoming traffic.
Oh, my Lord. Now, what was that man so mad at you about that he wants to kill the mother of his child?
It wasn't, my son's father did drugs.
Okay.
And then when he would get full of Crown Royal, his whole demeanor would change.
To where he wants to kill you?
Again, my son's father came from an abusive background, and I lived an abusive background.
My Lord.
And it wasn't like that in the beginning, because we were in our 9th year. It wasn't like it's just things started changing. I started catching him doing things that a husband shouldn't do. And then things just escalated, because I have to give him credit, and he's gone home to glory. My girls, he loved the ground my girls walked on. but he did not know how to treat a woman.
Mm.
Prior to him going home to glory, he wrote me a 15-page letter. He wrote the girls and he wrote my son, but I received a 15-page letter. And it said I didn't know how to be a man because I came from what was not a man. He said, I messed up our home, not you. But at the end of the day, you put me in a situation where I was pregnant. I could have lost my life that night. A gentleman pulled over off the freeway.
So did you jump out of a moving car?
Very much so.
Pregnant?
Yes.
And didn't kill yourself or the baby by the grace of God?
Let me tell you how good. It's like traffic shifted. And I'm not playing. I rolled on it. I jumped out. It wasn't going fast. It wasn't like zoom. You know how freeway traffic is? It was like, you know how the traffic is backed up on the freeway?
Right. So it's
it was slow move. It was slow move. It wasn't like you were zooming because I probably would not have made it. Mm-hmm. But literally, yes, I moved out. I jumped out of a moving car. I decided to take a chance on the freeway than
Rather
being
than
in a bullet.
I know that's right.
Because I was safe on the freeway. Even though I didn't see it at the time,
My Lord.
I was safe on the freeway. Long story short, I left.
Well, I want to know how you survived that night. Do you remember? I know it was traumatic.
That's what I was getting ready to tell you. That particular night, I had to call my dad.
Somebody had to help you on the side of the road, right?
It was a gentleman. There was a man pulled over and got out of his car, and he said, "Ma'am, are you all right?" And I was crying hysterically. My son's father pulled off. And I know me telling this story is going to come back and haunt me.
Why? It's the truth. It's your truth. And let me just say this. What hurts me the most in life is that victims have to protect the perpetrator. You know, victims feel like, I can't tell the story. This happened to you. And although he might have had his reasons for his trauma that he inflicted on you, it's still your story. And it's your story to tell. And it's your story to tell so when people hear it, they know that they do not have to live like this. And they don't have to keep secrets. And they don't have to keep secrets. So many people, especially minority communities, don't want to tell their stories, don't want to talk about rape, abuse, because they feel sorry for the person that's going to get in trouble. But sometimes people need to get in trouble so that they can feel sorry for what they've done to you. So I want to liberate you into telling your story.
It's like I made 65 September the 11th. And this is the funny thing about my story. And that is, Robert says all the time, you see my glory, but you don't know my story. And my story has been a very hard story. Mm-hmm. My life has not been a street life because I was raised my mother's the baby out of 21 children. So I was raised in a different environment. Mm-hmm. We didn't run the streets. We went to school. We went to college. My mother didn't play, but I had street men. Mm-hmm. So I was not dumb. I made dumb decisions.
Gotcha.
And dumb decisions will cost you your life.
Amen. Amen. So the man jumped you out the car. A nice Good Samaritan picked you up, and you got to the hospital.
I went to the hospital.
Did you have the baby then, or did it take a while?
My son, we were so close to it. My son was born 2 days later.
Wow.
I was walking down the stairs to go to the laundromat.
At that same place? You went back to the apartment where the man was?
I had no choice.
Yeah, you could have gone to your mama's house or one of those aunties and uncles of 21.
My brothers and them are in law enforcement. And I again,
so you protecting.
I hid a lot of things.
So you were protecting the man that made you jump out of a car at 9 months pregnant.
No, I wasn't protecting him. My girls were there.
I see. They were still there.
It was not about him.
I got you. You didn't know what to do when it came
my
to
babies have always been my life.
So you had to protect your babies.
And I'd lay down my life for my babies. So it wasn't like I could just run to my mama's house.
Right.
My girls were still at home.
Right.
One was 8, one was 4.
I see.
So I could not leave my babies.
I understand the fear. I understand. Trust me, I understand. That's hard. That's a hard when a man puts you in that position.
And then, you know what, just to add context to and not make my story about her story, and we always talk about this, Vivian. When we tell these stories, it's a time frame in life that's already passed. And if we could go back, so many different things we could change that we just in that situation.
And don't know how to get out of
And
it.
a culture thing, and in the culture we brought up in, calling the police, calling your mama and daddy, in my mind, you know what they're saying? It's gonna get worse.
Exactly.
It's not gonna get better. It's gonna
Exactly.
get worse. So the most I can do in this situation is let the fire go down. Don't add no more gas to it.
And you know, I sit here because I was abused also in a relationship in my 20s, but I had nowhere to go. So I'm actually deflecting
Yeah.
your
You wanna
story
fight her-
because I didn't
fight her
I didn't
right
have
now.
nobody. You know, I was kind of in foster family situations. You know, I did in another city, so I was there, but I had to go back. But I was like, dang, if I'd had 20 something people to go to, I was thinking about what I would have done. Because I had nowhere to go. So I did have to go back, and I do understand that. But I'm thinking, dang, I wish I would have had all those things. You seem like you have resources, but the trap is the same. So
And it is.
the trap is the same, whether you had 20 older relatives
Oh,
to go
I
to
had
or not.
resources, but
Yeah.
again, my family
trap.
was in law enforcement.
Right.
I was not going to jeopardize my family, but I wasn't going to jeopardize my daughters.
Right,
Because
right,
you could easily went back to that house and snapped and did something to my girls. And again, my life would have ended.
Right. So when you went back and had the baby 2 days later, I guess he kept your girls? Did he? What'd you do then?
My girls went to my sister.
Okay, gotcha.
My girls went to my sister. I'm an old school mom. And I was not one of those mothers you can come lay up with me and pay my bills and they see Peter and Paul running out of the
I know
house.
that's right.
If you was in my bed, I had one of these.
I know that's right. I know that's
Bottom
right.
line in the story, if my kids woke up and you was in my bed,
I know
I
that's
had
right.
one of these on. So with that being said, I left in the middle of the night. While he had left and went whatever. I was working as an accounting clerk for Gordon Jewelers downtown. I changed jobs. I had gotten me a 2-bedroom apartment, and my parents and my family helped me facilitate what I needed, furniture and everything, because I took nothing. I left in the middle of the night with an 8-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 3-week-old little boy, and I took nothing because I didn't want you to find me. I started over fresh. My daddy bought me a brand new car off the showroom floor from Mike, the Chevrolet people that used to be on Southwest Freeway. I kept saying to myself that there is a better life. I started over, but I needed help starting over.
Sure.
So everybody's like, well, get you some food stamps. Get a food stamp check. I'm like, no, I was in college. And I'm like, no, I'm not playing with them people's checks. But I did get food stamps. I got food stamps. I started working for an all-you-can-eat restaurant called Shoney's.
I remember Shoney's.
And as I was working for Shoney's, I was steady facilitating my education. Long story short, as I was working for Shoney's, as I was progressing in my growth of leadership, God was allowing me to elevate into certain higher levels. So I stopped getting the stamps. But while I was getting the stamps, I would report, because I started out as a part-time waitress. I would report my tips. I received a welfare fraud case that came back almost 8 years later to haunt me because Shoney's turned in the value of the ticket. The value of the ticket and what was on the table was 2 different things. And as I explained to the judge, sir, you go out and eat. It may not be at Shoney's, but you go out and eat. So you're going to send me, you're going to give me a 2-year prison sentence for trying to take care of my babies because I was getting beat, because I was being abused. My mother named me Rochelle, but there were times I thought my name was BMW.
BMW.
B-N-W.
Oh, the B word and the W
and
word.
the W word.
Oh, my Lord.
I went to Houston Baptist University. I was not a dumb person. I was a smart person. I made poor decisions in men. The judge gave me 2 years TDC. Not felony welfare fraud. I had a welfare fraud case. I was in Harris County Jail for 60 days. From Harris County Jail, I went to Plain State Jail in Dayton, Texas. Plain State is a state jail. My time was TDC time.
Right.
They gave me 2 years TDC, but because I was under the old law, 2 years is 6 months.
What year was this?
It was back in the 80s.
I thought it was in the 90s.
When I got stamps, it was in the 80s.
Oh yeah, but they went back all those years. That seemed like the statute of limitations should have run.
But no, but the severity of getting sentenced to TDC.
I know.
I don't like to make somebody else's story my story.
But
the first conviction I got 5 years probation, and what I did
was
compared
much
to what
worse.
she did.
Yeah, you was robbing.
Well, we don't talk about what I did, but I guess
This is a truth. This is a truth story. We're gonna tell the truth.
But that to your point.
Strong arm robbery.
Yeah.
He didn't
Okay.
put a gun in anybody's face, but he was robbing.
Yeah, robbery.
You was still robbing.
That was me. I did that. But the point I was just trying to make is still hard to wrap my mind around the severity.
It was severe. That's
Like,
severe.
No probation, no community service.
It might have been probation.
No, I had probation.
She had probation.
I was given probation. Let me back up a little bit. I was given probation, but because of the way that I was flip-flopping with work, I got behind in my probation. So I went to my mom and I told her what I needed. My mom gave me every single dime that I needed. I used to report on OST. The day that I went to pay my arrears, they had moved me from OST to downtown. And I was like, something not right. I could feel it in my gut that something was not right. Long story short, when they called my name, I went in to report. And I walked in and I told the gentleman, I said, I have my money right here. A man came from behind the door. There was an officer standing behind the door. He came from behind the door, snatched my arms real tight behind my back, and he handcuffed me. And so I started crying. And I said, why are you handcuffing me? He said, well, you have to go before the judge. So I stated to him, I said, fine, take me before the judge. They took my money.
Of course.
No, I'm not playing.
They stole it?
No, I didn't state that, and don't say that.
Oh,
They didn't
okay.
steal it.
Oh, let me listen.
No.
Let me sit
He's
back
going
in.
to probation to pay her fees. So they
Right.
took the fee money plus arrested her. That's what she's saying.
And that's exactly what
So
I
instead of just letting her report and pay her arrears, she was behind in her fees.
Okay.
So her mom gave her the money for the fees, and instead of them just accepting the arrearage, the back pay, and paying
they
it,
wanted to punish me.
they wanted to punish her. So they took the arrears, so she thinks she's cool now, but she's not. They arrest her. So that's the shocking part of her story.
Exactly. And the thing about it was, I was in awe. I really,
Because
really
here you are
was.
with 3 kids, you're working, going to school, trying to do the right thing, but got behind. It was a cold world back then. And the criminal justice system was cold in the 90s.
It was brutal.
It was brutal in the 90s.
Probation fees was $40 a month when I was
Right, but then
supposed
she had
to be
other.
paying.
But then see that when those welfare fraud cases, they make them pay restitution too. So she had to pay other fees, fines, restitution. But the problem,
Because you had to pay back the government.
you had to pay the government back, and basically under the DA's administration now, under Kim Ogg, we don't even charge welfare fraud anymore. We let the welfare fraud people deal with it administratively. So like in a situation like that, if they said, well, for 5 years you're off the program, it's whatever happens. Because a lot of the people, when you think of welfare fraud, you think of somebody sitting at home, not working, saying they got 20 kids, getting money for 20 kids. I mean, because that's really what it should be designed for. But when I was a defense attorney, all the women that I represented, they would turn in, their paperwork to welfare every 6 months, and then they might they're supposed to be trying to get better on their feet, so they get them a job. The job turns it in to the Social Security office. They match those two things 2 or 3 years later, and then they go arrest the women. Now they've been working for 2 or 3 years. They got kids. They have an apartment. And that cruel system used to snatch them and lock them up. So one of the things we did as progressive prosecutors when we came in 2017 is worked on stop arresting women for that. Not if they're working and they're just trying to do better. I mean, if they owe restitution, that's fine. But usually, even when they're working, they're underworking. So they're still entitled to some of it, the money. It's just might not be all of it. And it's not really even money. It's more like chips for the kids. It's health insurance. And even if you're working at a Shoney's at a restaurant, you can still get government assistance in that CHIPS program. So it wasn't really fair. Don't we want in this society people to be working versus not working?
Amen.
And so that's what we're emphasizing now. If you got in trouble because you were working, we're gonna let you keep working. You just can't deal with this welfare system anymore. Hopefully. I mean, that's kind of the way it was. But that ain't the way it is. It wasn't.
It wasn't.
That's the way it is now, but that wasn't the way it was.
Well,
Being
good
in
for Harris
jail-
County for changing that around.
It could change with the new administration, but under Kim Ogg over the last 8 years, we don't do that anymore.
Being in jail was hard.
Talk about it.
Well, because in Plain State Jail, I don't know how it is now, but many years ago, that was a horrible facility. The guards treated you like you were nothing. They woke you up.
Were they
and
mostly female guards or men?
It was
guards?
both. It was both, and
They
the
had
men
men
was
guards?
and the men were fooling with the ladies, with the inmates. That's why some
that's
of
not
them.
good.
But that's why some of them came up missing doing head count. They was missing, but they wasn't really missing.
Right. Did some of the women come up pregnant then?
I don't know, because I didn't care. I just wanted to go home.
I got you, baby. I got you.
I'm going to be honest. At the end of the day, I didn't know. I didn't care.
Okay.
I just wanted to go home.
You know that those women would be missing for a bed check because they wasn't in bed.
They was in bed. It just wasn't the right one.
It's the same thing with the men's facilities, the women working in there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and inmates doing the same thing to the women in there.
So the women guards in the men's facility
Yeah, it's a mess with inmates.
messing with the inmates.
Yeah, same thing. I've seen it for many, many years. You know, matter of fact, I got in trouble a lot for I don't want no more trouble. I have enough.
You got enough.
I don't need any more. But then they would get angry at me and send guards at me saying I'm not.
Participate.
Yeah.
But you're a big old fine man, so I'm sure they were.
But you know, I ain't.
No disrespect.
Yeah, no,
no
with-
disrespect.
None taken.
With me-
Miss Rochelle.
With me,
None taken.
with me
I
and
promise.
Danny
None
seen it happen.
taken.
With me,
But you're a big old fine
Yeah,
woman too.
but
so
I knew-
y'all
I knew-
the right match.
I knew there was a lot of trouble coming, you know. Even with the dope and all that, I didn't participate in that because I had 30 years. I want to come home.
Right.
And they
right.
keep adding time to me. I couldn't come home, you
Right,
know.
right.
So I decided the only thing I got in trouble for, fighting.
Right.
You know, but for us women and the dope and now I had in trouble with the cigarettes in '95 when they stopped them. I
But you were already used to
started selling tobacco, but when the cell phones come in, I don't want no part of the cell phone. They got slick. They started having a machine. They can walk to the building, shine on the building, and pick up tell you where the phones are. You know, so with me, I can understand what she been through. We talk about it all the time. You know, like I tell her, the women in penitentiary wouldn't like the men. You went through a lot in the women, but the men went through it. You know.
Because y'all were fighting.
Oh yeah, fighting,
Right.
trying to.
The women would fight, but the women would fight over not being able to get to their lovers. The women would fight over, like I worked in the kitchen. I was threatened several times when I worked in the kitchen because I wouldn't put extra pork chops or chicken on their plate.
Same way down there.
You know, and this is my thing. When I first went to Plain State, I was put on the whole squad. I didn't know what a whole squad was, and I literally thought they was gonna make me be hoeing. That's not funny.
Yeah,
That's not funny.
No, when
but
you
it
said-
is for people that don't
But
understand.
no. And let me just
that
say
part
this:
of
as
it.
long I've been in law enforcement, dealing with the criminal justice system for 31 years. And when you said whole squad, I thought you meant the whole
That's
squad.
right.
I thought you really meant
but
that.
the whole squad was going
A
out
tool,
in the
a tool.
field.
The whole-
The whole, yeah,
yeah.
but all I heard was hoe, and I broke down and started
The
crying.
garden tool hole.
Yeah,
what it
but
is.
I was
Yeah.
like, oh, they gonna deprive, they gonna abuse me in here.
They about to
That-
prostitute
I wrote-
you.
That's not only fun, that is hilarious.
It is.
I wrote a
When
letter
you
to
think
my
about it.
mom, and they came, and I say, Mama, they got me on the whole squad.
Oh my God.
And that's exactly what she said. She said, oh my God. She said, baby, you hoeing?
She said, "Baby, you hoeing
She
up in the
whispered,
prison."
because you know we was in the break room.
And the
Oh, my-
and so your mama was
and
serious,
she
didn't
whispered and she said,
Yeah.
you hoeing?
You hoeing up there?
Oh my
And
God.
I hadn't had an opportunity to send her another letter to tell her, okay, it's not that kind of
It's a
hoeing.
garden
It's the
tool
yard,
hoe.
yeah,
Garden
in
tool
the
hoe.
garden.
Yeah.
So when I stated there with her, she said, oh, baby, because I was going to call somebody and tell them they got my
Get
baby
my-
hoeing up there
Hoeing in the
prison.
penitentiary.
Yeah, but I never been in trouble, sir. So for me, you know, besides me writing 1 or 2 hot checks for my babies to eat, I'd never been in trouble. So for you to tell me I'm gonna be on the hoe, you already have deprived me by strip searching me and looking
Oh,
all
it's a
up my
traumatic experience.
looking
No
all
doubt.
up my cha-cha,
Oh, it's
talking
traumatic.
about it's something stuck up
Oh,
there.
no, it's traumatic.
you know, that I cried about that. Another woman telling me to bend and squat. Really, lady?
Oh, it's dehumanizing.
That's what
And
it
it
is.
is.
That's what he do it for.
It took
What he
away
do it
from
for.
my mother raised me to be a lady, but I felt like a nothing there because it takes away from your dignity as a lady. My mother said anybody can be a woman, but it takes a lot to be a lady. I conducted myself like a lady, but now I'm spinning and squatting and grunting, and another lady looking up my cha-cha. Ain't nothing ladylike about that.
Ain't nothing like about
Yeah,
that.
it's traumatizing.
It was. And the thing about it is, the guards were so mean, except for this one guard. She was a sergeant. Her name was Chantel Levine.
Yes.
And I would cry. I cried all the time when I was there. I walked the rec yard nonstop. When my mom and my dad came to pick me up, my daddy wouldn't even look at me. I weighed 110 pounds. I wore a
As tall
size
as you
5.
are?
I wore a
Are you
size
5'10",
5.
aren't you? About 5'10"?
11.
5'11", and you got down that skinny,
I
you was
wore a
skinny bone.
size 5 when I came home. My baby girl is, Barbara can tell you, she's straight up and down. I have, my son is 6'7", he's a big guy. My twin, who looks like me, she's about my size. But my baby girl has been little all her life. I could wear my daughter clothes when I came home. My dad
You
was a
couldn't eat in
big
the
old.
pen? You was working in the kitchen?
That-
you can get
I
an
just
extra
wanted
pork
to
chop.
go-
You didn't care about that
I just
food.
want, my family kept money on my books. I had plenty commissary. It wasn't even about that. It was about the environment that I was in. It was about the way they would hassle us in the middle of the night, telling me we had contraband. Y'all just wanted to come in and take what y'all wanted that people had and then pretend it was contraband. Because
So the guards are really stealing from
they
you.
were stealing
That's what it
because Rich Crackers and Nabisco Crackers and stuff, it's open and we found this, and they never found anything on me. And I give God all the glory for that. This has been years ago in my life, and still, he'll tell you, I don't sleep good at night. I jump and I shake. I wake up in the middle of the night doing this. I'm making sure I'm in my bed and not on that bunk.
Ooh, it must have
That-
been really traumatic for you.
Because it was. It was. I
And
mean,
you were just at 6 months. Not just, I mean, 6 months is a long time, but
well, I was there longer than 6 months.
you were
There
there
was
10 months.
Yes, there was a storm here in Houston, and the storm, all of the everything, and the storm had everything in Austin. It was one of those big major storms, whatever
I think it
hurricane.
was Alicia.
Somebody.
I think that was
Maybe,
Alicia.
maybe Ike.
No, that
Ike
was,
was-
no.
Ike
Ike was
was
lately.
2000.
That was 2000. This was in the
Something-
90s. This is-
something-
2008 was
There
out.
was
It was Alicia, I
It
think.
was
It
a
was
big
Alicia.
storm, and I think that you are correct.
I think it was Alicia.
But I stutter. My family kept writing Austin. And they kept writing Austin. And when they found out that I really had overstayed my stay, they did a mandatory expedite release on me. The man came from Austin. They called me out of the kitchen and they said, go to the gate. You have a visitor. And I was like, this not visiting day. And my family don't come to the gate. They go to the visitation room. He was letting me know that in less than 48 hours, I was going to be released. I stood there and I dropped down on my knees
And thank God I know
and
you
I
did.
cried. And I cried. And all I kept telling him was, thank you. I wanted to run back to the kitchen, but everybody know you don't run on prison ground because they'll think you're trying to
Escape.
But I wanted to run back to the kitchen. So I fast walked. I didn't run, but I fast walked. And I was
The thing about running, honey, if you're running toward the building, They don't want you running around.
All
the
I know
yard.
is they said you get shot if you run.
If you
so I
run around
wasn't
in
going
the
to
You
yard.
run.
don't know. You weren't gonna take no chance
I
which
wasn't
direction
gonna
you were
run.
running.
Exactly. I fast walked, but I wasn't going to run. Prison life for an individual that is not used to prison will tear you down emotionally, mentally, and physically. I don't understand for the life of me, and I mean no disrespect to anybody that's listening, how you come in and go out, how you come in and go out, because that's a pattern that I did once and I never want to do again. In the process of me going through that, God allowed me to reconstruct me. I have a Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice now. I have a Master's in Accounting. I have a Doctorate in Theology. I met and married my husband, former Houston Astros pitcher Robert Santee. We started our foundation because of the fact that he's a survivor of bullying because he had polio as a child. I survived
Sure can't tell
11
now.
years.
God was good with your polio.
Very
wasn't
good, very good. And the thing about me, and I tell my wife all the time, I thank God for her. We crashes quite a bit because we under the same sign. I'm September 9th, she's September 11th. So we both hard-headed. But I wouldn't know what to do without her.
Oh,
I
ain't that
wouldn't know
sweet?
what to do without her because, see, with me, I'm finally getting tamed. You know,
Right.
Because what 30 years in prison, 10 years couldn't walk. That's 40 years out of my 77 life.
Yeah.
You know.
So 10 years you couldn't walk?
Couldn't years. I walked in my 10th year. Yeah.
So were you on crutches or in a
No,
wheelchair?
I was on crutches.
Those
you know.
those old ones that the polio people had that were strapped to your arms.
Yeah.
So
when
for 10, so what happened to make you start walking after 10 years of being on crutches with polio?
I believe my mother had a belief, and she told me, "Baby, God got you." See, she made me keep the faith. And I fought hard. My mother come home, work with me, make sure I can walk, you know. One day my mom came home, I was standing against the wall with the crutches about my arm. I got tired of getting mistreated.
So they were bullying you for being on them crutches.
yeah,
I know how kids are
And-
cruel.
His family bullied him.
And right now,
Were you tall for your age then, or were you short because of the polio?
I was tall. My little legs are small today
yeah.
because they didn't grow.
Grow
you know.
right. Yeah.
And I used to get bullied when I started playing basketball, laughing at me, little small legs, big man like me, small legs, you know.
Right.
And he not playing. His legs that big.
Right. I had a cousin that had polio, so I was raised with polio.
So during all my time, and I sympathize with my wife because she's still a mess about this
Prison.
penitentiary time. And I try to tell her, man, it's all over with. But with me, I still have those moments.
30 years is a long
Someone
time.
look at me crazy, I'm ready to go off. She said, baby, you can't whoop everybody, but I'll die trying.
You will.
You know, yeah, because see,
It ain't worth it now at
No,
77.
no.
You got to try to enjoy the rest of your
well,
years.
and I do tremendously. God's been very good to my wife and I. You know, and the time I seen you back down at the courthouse, I got into a fight with a guy, the security guard at the game room, talking crazy to me. You know, and I said, man, you can't. I'm not gonna see. I refuse to let somebody mistreat me.
Yeah.
You know, that's my mind thinking. She tell me all the time, baby, slow down. My mother-in-law treats me like I'm a blood son. You know.
That's a blessing.
Yeah. She tell me all the time, baby, if I leave home and be gone past 12 o'clock, she's setting up. Don't go to sleep till I walk through that door.
Your mother-in-law?
My mother-in-law, her mother.
And when the door, when he comes in, the alarm goes off. So I look at the camera and I see he's in, because you can't come in there after 12 o'clock. You have a good time, tell the boys do what you do. But my mother always said after 2 o'clock it's not but two things open.
Leg.
So I'm just stating.
But
he's not that type of husband.
With me, I missed so many things because before I went to prison, I had everything I wanted.
I know.
Money here, money there.
And you went to the Astros out of high school.
Out of high school.
In 1966.
I
know your story, 1966 to 1974.
I didn't have no trouble with women.
No, not big old fine man on Astros.
But the thing about it
he
was,
had plenty of those.
Oh, I believe it.
and I'm going.
He was tired by the time we got to you.
Friday we going to a
He's
friend of
still
mine.
all right, Miss Vivian.
All right.
I'm still going
I ain't
back.
mad at your sister.
Still going back. We're going to a friend of mine's funeral. He just passed, and
He was with you on the Astros? Or?
well, no, we played. He played with me in different areas growing up.
Growing up. Okay.
And his sister called me. His daughter called me this morning. Want me to read out the Old Testament, to read, and you know. And like I told her, honey, I'd do anything in the world for that kid, because they was all up under me. The guys, when I was on crutches, on polio, they was out there playing ball. and I couldn't play. But when I started playing, God carried me on right by them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right by them.
I mean, because going from polio to 10, and then,
Yeah.
at
7 years
18,
later, I'm in pro ball.
you in pro ball in the 66 when black folks, men wasn't even hardly in pro
They
baseball.
wasn't. They dropped me right out of high school. But the thing about it, I'm in the Hall of Fame in basketball. Set all kind of
High
records.
school.
Yeah.
No, he's in
yeah.
Prairie View Hall
Yeah.
of Fame.
Oh,
Yeah,
Prairie View. Okay.
yeah.
I didn't know you went to Prairie View. I thought you went straight to high,
well,
from high
the state,
school.
no, the state, the basketball, what they're doing, they're going back getting all the great athletes
I see.
doing this high school
I see.
and putting them in the Hall of Fame through Prairie View.
I see.
But what my thing was, when I met her, God told me, say, you'll know your wife when you see her. So I told God, when I seen her, I said, she dark-skinned. God, you sure you right? You know, I
He
questioned
never had a
God.
dark
I
skin
questioned
woman.
God. I said, oh, you sure you right,
So
God?
you prejudiced against us chocolate chips?
Well, I
us
didn't-
chocolate kisses,
I'm
us
dark-
chocolate queens,
Tell
us
him, Miss
Nubian
Vivian.
queens. You prejudiced against
Tell him,
us?
Miss
As
Vivian.
dark as I were, I didn't want no dog kids.
Well, you ain't having no kids no more.
No, not now. Not now. That's my baby. That's my queen. But when I first met her, yes, I was very prejudiced. Yeah, I was sitting in my cell on a Sunday studying my word, and God came to me. God told me this here, Psalm 37. Won't you try me? See, because I was telling God, give me this woman. Because that's what the scripture
Right,
was saying.
you telling
Give me this here, God, I need this and that. And God told me, he said, won't you just try me? Try me. And when I started trying God, I got turned down parole about 7 times, because 2 or 3 times I was in SEG. Can't parole out of SEG. And when I got on to the 215, I told him, I said, well, look, I don't want no parole. So when the parole board people come to you, I wouldn't even show up. Warden Williams come in and said, Santee, you got to go to parole. I said, I'm doing anything, Warden. I'm doing anything. I got 4 more years. I'm going to do this here on my head. I did all of it, but 4?
Yeah.
So whatever, well, you going to go? I turned parole down 5 or 6 times. When they parole me, I walk out the door, straight out the door. No parole, I wasn't on no paper or anything. So when I get home, I don't have anywhere to go. My mother passed. The money I had with my sisters, they kept. So I didn't have anywhere to go. And then my sister told the parole board when they went to her house, I don't know no Robert Santee.
What?
Yes, she did.
The same one that took your money?
Yeah.
They had your money?
Yeah.
Well, people cold.
So I see, right now, Miss King and Danny, it's hard for me to trust. I trust her, and sometimes I get on her about it, man, you know. And all she ever done since I've been with her is showed me the love.
Love and kindness. So, just like you surrendered to God, you got to surrender to the relationship that God gave you. It's about surrendering.
well,
I know strong men, tough
yeah,
men,
yeah.
it's hard to surrender. But we need a little more, you got to surrender, baby.
He told me, God told me this here, he said, you'll know your wife yourself. I've seen her. He said, okay. He said, I'm going to bless y'all through you. And he said this here, you and your wife going to serve me. And I know we are, because she's very strong in the faith. Sometimes she's so strong, it scares me. But like I tell all the time, just like God talk to everybody, God's talk to me too. No. God's talk to me too. And with me, Miss King and Danny, when we first been on the show in 2015, we done made a big jump since then.
Amen.
Because I was on my way back to prison, 217, when was that?
Yeah. We
Yeah,
got in trouble
when I seen you.
fighting them guards.
Yeah. But then I was
Security
fighting a security man in the game room. My wife come down there and Ben Tarb, they came to Ben Tarb handcuffs.
Your neck is all
Yeah.
in a sling or
Yeah.
something, in a thing. They tried to kill you.
Yeah, the
didn't
man almost bit my finger
No,
off.
really, to be perfectly honest, and excuse me for interrupting, no, it wasn't the man, the security guard. He whooped the security
Took the
guard.
gun from him.
He took the gun from him.
snapped it on him.
And snapped it on him.
Gun didn't
But it
shoot.
was God's grace that the security guard was a security odd, not a security guard.
Yeah.
They even tried to give him a case as assault on a public servant.
yeah,
A security
yeah,
odd,
yeah.
not a security guard.
So-
It's not a public servant. After I we did careful investigation because his lawyer was an ex-DA.
Yeah.
And the thing about it was the man was an illegal immigrant.
Yeah.
And after they did a complete thorough search, he wasn't even supposed to be. That's why there was
Carrying a
no.
gun. He
That's
wasn't
why there were
carrying a
no
gun.
bullets in the gun.
And what bullets? The
at
clip fell out, Rochelle. Okay, let me
so
tell
that
you,
mean
darling.
it was
Let
no
me tell you.
bullets.
No, but he had a bullet in the chamber.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna say
Yeah,
this. We
don't-
just thank God you
Well,
didn't shoot.
what happened was, Danny, Miss King, the bullet flipped, turned sideways, wouldn't come out.
God protected
Yeah,
you.
God
Back to the
protected me because
penitentiary.
I put it on his head and snapped it. He had my finger in his mouth, hurting me, so I'm gonna kill him.
We had to
Yeah.
have special surgery done on his hand.
You know.
Oh,
But when I
wow.
seen you, like I told you, see, it's not that I was wrong because I was at home. She's at work. I jump in the car. I'm going to the game room and play. My granddaughter told my wife, "Say, Popo just left here." And then when they called her, when I was been to her, they called her, and she come in walking through with a badge on. The
That's the
guard,
only reason why they let me.
the guard tried to stop
in
her.
the bag,
They said,
because
"Oh,
I
come
had
on,
my
come on."
badge on.
Yeah.
Other than that, I wouldn't.
What
have
kind of
believed
badge was it?
I'm a licensed private investigator for Houston Harris County.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my badge says PI on it.
I see.
And that was the reason why they allowed me to come to the back. And other than that, I wouldn't have even gotten to see him. And I bent down and I whispered in his ear. And I said, if you'd have been at home,
Yeah.
like you were supposed to be at home,
You wouldn't even be
I
in
said
this
you
trouble.
wouldn't be where you are right now. I said, but at the end of the day, I said, I got you.
And yeah, and see, my record was so bad.
Oh, I'm telling you.
Police was they was all scared.
I know.
You know, and they come back there with their guns out because the people told them. The little girl down there was working. She was stealing the money. So she said if she
She was stealing the money?
No,
come
she
to,
really
no,
was.
he came to rob us. So they took the money. And
They
one-
said you were gonna rob?
Yeah, one old lady that said that's a lie. Say this man in here every day loses money, don't complain. They mistreated this man. He fought back. Old lady. And she told me, no, that's not a lie. She the one stealing the money, trying to keep the money and say he took it. You know.
And they found out
yeah.
the lady that was running the game room had stashed the money, and
they
she's
fired
no
her.
longer there.
Yeah, they fired
but
her.
I'm just
Did they
just-
find the money?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that charge was never placed
never-
on him.
No, they never did, because when I got down to the county jail, I knew so many officers and things and prison guards down there, they knew me. And the guy told the lady in the book, he said, no, that ain't true. Say this man had been down there 100 times. Never no problem. You know, so they lying on me. And when the lady, what was her name? The ex-DA? You probably know if I called Kenrell her name.
I don't know.
Who
if she
your
was-
lawyer was?
Yeah,
Yeah,
ex-DA.
she was an ex-DA. She was a white lady.
About short.
Sweet as Georgia
We
peach
ended up being
pie.
personal friends with her.
Yeah, we used to
Yeah.
go to her house. And
Okay, well, y'all got to
everything.
think of her name because there's a whole bunch of people that fit that description.
I'm
no
gonna
longer
call.
even live
she,
here.
she moved back to Kentucky.
to Kentucky.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna call her name because she told me. She said, Robert, when she come in to see me, I told her judge. I said, we paying this man all this money, and when the DA told him something, he was trembling. Rochelle said, baby, you see that man?
No, the attorney that he had at first, and I remember his name, and I will not call his name because he was a coward.
Okay, well, whisper it.
No, he was a coward.
Okay, they're not showing your mouth right now. Whisper it to me.
he looked at my record. He said, oh man, he came back
He
in the room
looked
with she
at
and I.
Robert's record,
Yeah.
and he got scared.
Yeah.
When before he had went to the powder room, the men's room, and I was sitting in the courtroom, and I'm sitting there. I was on the front row, so I'm observing everything that was transpiring. So the white lady was a tall, white blonde. She had blonde hair.
Yeah.
And she told that coward, she said, whatever my assistant tells you, I'll go along with. So when he went and talked to the assistant, the assistant said, okay, well, we're just going to give him probation. She jumped up like they had put a match under her behind. I'm not going along with that. I'm not
record
going
too
along with
bad.
that. The coward, the attorney that he had, he froze like a little child who got caught with his hand in the cookie jar. He literally did this. Okay, all right, okay, all right. I said, well, I'll be dang.
I had a $1,500 check in my pocket.
We'd already
Give it to
given him $1,000.
Yeah.
We've given him another
Yeah.
$1,500. At the end of the day, when Barbara came back from the men's room, I stated to him, I said, do this to him. He said, why? I said, he got to go.
He fired.
Janie
and
Crockler or somebody.
Janet, No, her name was Janet.
No, Janet.
But that's not the
Crocker
correct.
is a judge.
And that's not the correct last name.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, he sold Robert out. But okay. He didn't try to fight on Robert's behalf. He didn't try to say this. He stood there just like this. Okay, all right, okay. And I said, well, I be dang. When Robert came back in, I said, Poppy, because I call him Poppy. I'm calling Robert. I said, Poppy, come here. And he said, what's wrong? I said, do this to him. And he said, why? I said, he has to go. I said, he does not have your best interests at heart. I said, he's not fighting for you. When the man came over, Robert said, man, you fired.
You fired.
But he said it in a
You
ugly
fired.
tone.
You
He
fired.
said, man, you fired.
You fired.
And he asked Robert, he said, why? Immediately he put me in it. My wife said you a coward.
That's right.
And I said, you are.
Well, that's what you said.
But because he was.
Yeah.
He was.
I love it.
You did not try to stand up for my husband.
That's what you said.
You were putting my husband's life in jeopardy. Long story short, God allowed. It was a black lady first that you had. And
Real
then,
told. Real
she
told.
was a court-appointed attorney.
yeah.
Long story
It might have
short,
been Beverly Mellentry.
Could have been. Tall
that
lady.
was her,
Tall
the tall
She's real
black
tall.
lady.
Yeah,
she-
Yes.
Yeah.
Long story short, the lady that assisted him, because when he met me, I had my own business. We had come put his name on my papers. So when they saw that he had established himself in the community, they gave him 30 days.
Hold up,
They
baby.
said-
Now you jumping too fast. Now you way up to 30 days thing. We have to get through the law. When she coming, I say, you gonna fight for me? She said, no, I'm gonna fight for me.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
was amazing.
And like I told her, she sent investigators out and talked to everybody, and she come back and told her this. She said, look, let me tell you something. This man hadn't done anything, just like he was gonna fight for his life. And that's what I was doing. Because when a man pulled a gun, I turned to a beast on him.
Yeah, you had to.
Yeah, he
You
gonna
had to
kill
save
me.
yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when I grab him and grab the gun, I flip him and take the gun out of his hand and hit the button, the clip come out of it.
Right.
But the bullet turned sideways when I was trying to kill him because I was scared.
Right, because he bit your finger off.
I
Yeah.
almost bit it off. My finger was hanging, you know. And and when she told him, she said, showed everything my wife and I had the time I was out. She said, well, no, this man got out. He this, he that. And she said, no. She said, I'll give him a year. She got me a year. When she comes to say, Robert Santee, you got a year. I said, I need to go home and get my stuff in order.
Right.
They sent me home. I came back the next month and went on down there. But the thing,
You had to do 6 months?
6 months. Yeah, I did 6 months, and it was the hardest 6 months in the world because I'm used to doing time where I can run, move around.
Yeah.
Down there, you're confined.
Yeah, when all those kids are down there.
You got all them kids down there fighting and raping, and when I got down there, all my mail would come in. I'd have to open. They couldn't open my mail. And kids were saying, well, man, he must be the police. They can open his mail. But like I told them, I'm not the police. I'm a killer if you mess with me.
I know that's right.
People coming in, they jumping on me, taking their commissary, you know. And the guard told me, he said, let me tell you something. He said, not him. This man that did 30 years on the toughest farm videos. And like I told my wife, hey, don't worry about me. Don't worry about me. You know, I got me. But they were afraid my mother-in-law was afraid I'd get in some more trouble.
In that jail.
Yeah, and I would have, because I had my coffee pot rig while boiling hot water in a lie, and I was going to kill them all. But, but the thing with me, Miss King and Danny, my wife knows me. And anybody ever knows me, know I'm a fighter, drop of the hat. We received our doctrine and theology, both of God and brought me a mighty long ways. The foundation is booming, you know. Like I said Saturday, we spend a lot of our money ourselves. Don't nobody help us. But every time we have to pay water bill and gas bills, we do it. And I made the statement, I'm gonna make it again. A lot of times when I get pink slips, don't nothing ever get cut off, but I'm trying to figure out why we getting a pink slip. You're not paying the bills? Oh no, I help so-and-so, so-and-so. It used to bother me.
That's you helping people?
Yeah.
Well, let me say this. Our foundation partnered with Crosswalk.
So let's first tell the audience that from all of this pain and trauma and experiences, they started the Santee and Associate Foundation, and the purpose is to help people of domestic violence, abuse,
Bullying and human trafficking.
bullying and human trafficking, their experiences.
But my goal, because I walk the grounds of Plain State, and unless you, and we were talking about this earlier, unless you have walked that walk, don't tell me, oh, I know how you feel. You can tell me, oh, I sympathize with you. But because I wore that orange uniform, I wore those tight whites that we used to keep under our mattress to keep them nice for on Sundays, I wanted to help women coming out of prison. Our foundation literally offers free computer training classes. We have a program set up there that they can come and get computer classes. We have families that donate nice clothes from Ashley Stewart's and Lane Bryant to help women to come. And you have somewhere where when you come out, you can come get clothes. We partnered with Chaplain Paula Robinson. Chaplain Robinson is the chaplain for Plain State Jail and the Hensley unit. So when those women come out, they go to her facility, which is there at Crosswalk, but they come to us for training and learning. They come for us to get clothes. Our office manager, and she does not mind me utilizing her name is Janet Barnett, been down 12 times.
To the penitentiary?
Yes, ma'am.
And
But she's the
changed her
office
life.
manager.
But she's the office
Our
manager.
office manager.
Yeah.
And
like
she's
that.
extremely smart.
Very smart.
I mean, Janet is very smart. We have another worker in our office. She asked me not to use her name. She came from Plain State Jail. And she's the assistant there in the office. This is my thing. I want women to understand. Don't lay there and let a man demean you. I heard my whole life, you think you this, you think you that. Ain't nobody gonna want you. You think this, you think that. I think that God has me. I think I desire not to let you misuse me anymore. I think I need to move on. I think I need a better life for me and mine. Do you think I want little girls to think this is how your mother or a woman is supposed to be treated?
I appreciate it. She's been good for me. And sometimes I'm hard. And I go to her mother a lot, and we sign and we talk a lot. Because when I first got out, I was having trouble with my sister living with them because they were taking all my money. And I called her one night, and I said, man, I got to do something, you know. I said, I got to get out of here before I end up back in prison. She said, okay, let me talk to you. She went and talked to her mother. And mother got me on the phone. She said, baby, I ain't never let another man come in my house if my daughter wasn't married to her.
I know that's right.
She said, but you can come. So when I get over there, we got married about a month later, right?
2 months.
Okay, well, it was 2 months later. But when I got over there, I was talking to mother and my sister was on the phone. I didn't cut the phone off and she heard everything. I said, you know what? I said, I'm really thankful. And she and that lady and I have been like real mother and son. Like right now, she tell my wife, I don't know what I love that boy so much for, you know. And like I tell her, I said, Rochelle told her, God sent Robert to us to protect Robert. You know, because
You protect them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. See, with me, I'm bipolar and schizophrenic, Danny. And if I got something in my head, I believe it.
And he does,
You know,
Lord
I
Jehovah.
believe it. And a lot of times when I first got home, I was sitting in the dark in another room, put cans and everything around the door. I better with that now. We got security, alarm and cameras.
I got up one night to go to the potting room and falling over all these cans.
Oh, that's the alarm system. That's the penitentiary alarm system.
So if somebody comes in, they make a
but
bad
we
noise.
never had. We never had cans going all around the walls.
No,
and
you
stuff
never had no.
till you got there.
Yeah, but the thing about it, Ro.
We have 2 minutes, y'all.
Okay, thing about it, Miss King.
That's a good alarm
Let's talk
system.
about the foundation.
Okay, well, go ahead, honey. Talk about it.
Let me just say this. We need your help. We need your help to help us to make a change. We are pleased about the fact that Miss Vivian King, who was also one of our honorees for one of the top 20 women of culture this past September the 23rd. Miss King has done a remarkable job in the city for making a change. But the Santee and Associates Foundation is also trying to do the same thing. Our website is the word THE, SanteeFoundation.com. Our physical address is 6363 Richmond Avenue, Suite 200, Houston, Texas 77057.
And tell them about what you do, because everybody knows we need donations to nonprofits. and tell them what you use the money for.
We use the money to, first of all, to do back to school drives. We just did a back to school drive with Sweetwater Apartments where we got school supplies and uniforms for over 300 children. For Christmas, we facilitate the same amount of families with free Christmas dinner. Not eat, sit down there and eat. We supply them with a complete dinner. We also supply the children with toys. Help us to make a difference. Just because we are Black-owned and ran foundation does not mean we don't need your help. We need your help because we're stronger together.
And I tell everybody, we don't need you to pay my bills. We need you to help us pay their bills.
Right.
My bills going to be paid through the grace of God.
Right, right.
You know.
And most foundations, and as I know a lot of people with grants, are y'all getting grants yet? Grant
We're
money?
in the process of working on that.
Work on the grants, because that's the best way to do it.
Yes,
with
ma'am.
the federal grants.
We've been promised grants for about 5 or 6 months. We're going to do this and do that.
Be patient.
Yeah, be patient.
Trust the
It's coming.
process.
Yeah, trust the process. It'll come. The problem with the Black community sometimes, as I was trying to tell you Saturday, Robert, is that it's about 50 people that everybody asks. You know what I'm saying? So
I agree.
so everybody's asking the same people, and
I
so
agree.
and the Black people. I mean, the people don't have a lot of money, but everybody's asking. I know I'm one of those people that come to this, do this. That's why it's so hard for me to keep a schedule. It's because like do this, do that. I do the best I can.
Yeah.
But it's hard. It's hard because at one point in my life I had no life because I gave it all to everybody else, and I had a very angry daughter because of it.
And I want to add, there is how you invest in this platform to have people have a place to come and talk about. And you never talk about the cost behind doing this show. This is on Houston Media Source, but the time that they give us is not free time.
Yeah.
I respect that.
And so Ms. King, she, out of her own pocket,
Yes.
finances this platform for people in the community to come in.
That's why we
and-
just honored her.
Exactly. So she doesn't talk about that, but she is definitely a great resource to her culture here in Houston.
That she is.
Well,
Thank you, Danny, and thank you for your support.
Yeah,
They're
when I-
telling us to wrap up, so
okay.
go ahead and say
When I
what you're
seen
going to say.
her Saturday, when my wife told me she was coming, I said, man, that's a blessing. And when I seen her Saturday, I said, thank you, God, because a lot of people say, well, we're going to do this and do that and never show up. And then when we put these venues on, we pay for the venue, everything come out of my pocket.
And y'all did an excellent job. It was an excellent
Thank
job.
you
It was
for
their
your
first
courtesy.
annual, and it was an excellent job.
we
Thank
spent-
you for your
yeah, thank you.
community service in the
Yeah.
community. Thank you for
Thank
telling
you
your
for yours.
story. Thank you for
Yes,
telling
ma'am.
yours again, reminding us about your story. And thank you, Danny, for always being here to share your story.
My smile is my style.
All right. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching Truth and Justice with Vivian
like
King.
that.
All right. Good night.
Yeah. You know, we were.
Thank you for tuning in again tonight. We have something really good, a hot topic in the news this week. He's been charged with crime. This is a show where